Peace, good evening. I'd like to welcome you back to another edition of the Foul Playland. As always, I am Sir Foul, player of Brooklyn, New York, coming at you live from the East Coast of the United States on the eve of what some deem may have been the potential end of the world. We get a chance to exhale, knowing that calamity has been avoided. You guys don't know what I'm talking about. There was a deadline that was set by President Donald Trump, where in which he issued out a warning to the country of Iran, stating that if they didn't make a deal by 8 p.m. Eastern time, U.S., that he was basically gonna give them all sorts of hell. Um, that crisis, thankfully, or that deadline has, as of this time, elapsed because a couple of hours ago there was a rumor out that the Trump administration was gonna enter a ceasefire and um, issue a olive branch or extend their time in negotiating with the country of Iran, so long as they kept the Strait of Hormuz open. You guys don't know. I gotta blow my nose. I'm under the weather these last couple of days. I tend to talk a lot of smoke about not getting sick. It really hasn't happened for the last couple of years, and now it struck me this past Thursday. But if you guys don't know, the Strait of Hormuz is a small body of water in the Middle East that is bordered by Iran. I think Oman is another country that is on the border of that body of water. And I think that body of water is about 37 kilometers or 37 miles in width. What makes that body of water so important is that a lot of the world's energy or fuel goes through that small gap of water. And when you have a country like Iran who has set out to be a irritator in that region and in the world in general, and when I say irritator, I mean in the sense that they threaten larger countries than um, they threaten Israel. I mean, which I have no dog in that fight, but they also threaten America, which I live in America. So I mean, not that I take these threats or I lose sleep over them necessarily, but at the end of the day, I mean, I'm rooting for the land in which I live in. Of course, I love America. I don't love the politics of America. I don't love the politicians of America. I don't, not that kind of a patriot in the sense that I'm wearing like American flag shirts and all this stuff, unless it's on some Ralph Lauren polo attire, which I also happen to love. But I'm an American in the sense that I want America to do well. I want the kids that I see around me that I consider American to do well too. A lot of so-called minorities. I mean, like they've gotten into the habit of making it cool to root against America or root against the land in which they live in. And I've been in that boat myself. I mean, I was raised on hip hop. Most of the hip hop industry is not too keen on this country, even though they're from this country. But I have grown up from that stance, and I hope others do as well. Actually, I see a lot of so-called minorities growing up from the stance of being anti-American, but a lot of times this argument, when you talk about Iran or America, you hear people giving stances that sound as if they're rooting against the country in which they live in. And a lot of times these are so-called minorities that speak that way. When right now we're coming like as so-called minorities, we're at a really important time in the history of this country, which I'll get to later on. But let me explain what the Strait of Hormuz and its importance in all this stuff is that Iran, since they border that body of water, they have in effect taken control of what goes and comes through there. They're known as a violent country to negotiate with, and they have since used that control to the Strait of Hormuz as a negotiating tactic. Um, Hello to you, Nikolai Padaba. I hope I said your name right. Nikkei Padaba. I'm sorry, but and in these last couple of weeks, I mean, you've seen military actions conducted by the United States against Iran. Um, I think back in June, we bombed one of their nuclear facilities, or the country of the United States bombed their nuclear facilities to now, in recent months, or in this past month, President Trump has ordered military strikes, and those strikes have killed off a lot of the leadership of Iran. And now we're about 4 weeks or 5 weeks into this military operation in Iran, which has largely been, as far as America's participation in this military operation, it's been basically bombings from the air. It's not ground troops in the region. It's barely a naval presence in that region, except for from a distance where we could launch our jets to strike in Iran. But besides that, it's been pretty much an aerial campaign. Yusuf Mansouri, how you doing? You wrote, "I am from India." Who is the country? The country I'm speaking about is Iran and America. If you're asking about what country I'm from America, but my parents were from Puerto Rico, so I'm a Puerto Rican American um, to some, but I consider myself a native of America. Um, but going back to the situation in Iran, right now it's been basically the U.S. launching off missile strikes into the country of Iran, and Iran not being able to necessarily respond back to the strikes that we're throwing in their direction. Um, but the coverage that it's getting from the American press, which the American press, for the most part, you have two components of the American press. You have Fox, the one singular conservative mainstream media news outlet, which Fox is very pro-war. I mean, there's not a war that Fox doesn't like. And then you have the rest of the mainstream media, which is every single publication, whether that be on TV, on the internet, on paper, on YouTube. All mainstream media, for the most part, is vehemently anti-Trump, and that's honestly one of the reasons that I am a person who tries to look at what Trump is attempting to do and not like run with the mainstream media's perspective, or run with a perspective which I see most of the people who talk politics on YouTube. It's basically one long Trump hate stream, which I mean, like, and it's expected of me being Latin by descent to be vehemently anti-Trump, and I get a lot of bull crap from people who look like me for trying to pause and maybe give thought to the moves that the president tries to conduct. And I look at it big picture. I mean, and if you want to know what my thoughts as far as the big picture of what all this stuff may be leading to, or what Trump's big picture might be. It's simple. I mean, it's not in my eyes. I'm not saying it, and you may disagree with what I'm saying, but I think Trump's long-term goal is to take control of the hemisphere of America, which would basically be from the country of Chile all the way down to South America, up into Greenland and beyond North America, which is he wants to be the guy who's in charge, or he wants America to be in charge of the hemisphere that America is in, or the Western Hemisphere. He wants America to be in charge of this hemisphere in perpetuity. And Bailey Haga, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, said hi, hello to you too. And what I'm saying may not make sense when you talk about when you put Iran into the mix, even because Iran is not in the American hemisphere. But it makes a lot of sense because that hemisphere largely controls a lot of the American markets or the markets of the whole world. The price of fuel goes up, and it's basically because of the price of fuel going up in relation to something that's happening in the Middle East or specifically in the Strait of Hormuz. In this case, the price of fuel is going up across the whole world because of what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz. You know, in spite of the fact that Trump's claim is that America doesn't get fuel from sources that travel through the Strait of Hormuz, that America gets their energy from here in the Americas. But the price of gas is going up in America as it's going up around the whole world as well. And I think that the reason that happens is because of something that Trump is trying to contend against, which is the fact that other places have controls of all the markets, and Trump just wants a market that is largely centered in this hemisphere that he can control. If they want other markets in other hemispheres, I mean, I think that he's okay with that. But I think that the days of a world in which business as usual, you know, where the UK gets to dictate markets all across the world, where you have a built-in opposition in perpetuity in Iran. I mean, Obama's administration enabled Iran to receive uranium and entered a nuclear deal with Iran for really no reason at all. So then Iran immediately breaking that deal and begin to test out interballistic missiles, you know, start enriching their uranium, which uranium for the purposes of lighting up cities and for the purposes of conducting energy, I think it has to be at about 5% enriched uranium, where, you know, the mainstream media reports that Iran's uranium was at 60%, if not more. And that could only be for the purposes of trying to acquire nuclear weapons. You also have the Iran, or being the supposed funder of terrorist, or I didn't mean to say that word, but T-risters throughout the world, which I could poke holes in that narrative if you want. I mean, I'm not saying I poke holes, but I don't totally buy that. I think that there's actually people that fund Iran or countries that fund Iran, and it's basically a large circular, you know, finger blaming operation as to why the markets of the world are um, tedious or at the verge of going up or down at any moment, with with no control really being rendered by America as to these markets going up and down, even though America is probably capable of producing everything America needs at a minimum, and America being capable of not having to deal with basically any other country, um, in the way in which we treat with them now. Like in the way that Obama treated with Iran when, like the example I just gave, when Obama treated with Iran, it was basically treating with Iran and enabling them, letting them have money that they had frozen from Iran, billions or hundreds of millions, I think it was billions of dollars that we unfroze for Iran and gave it back to them. And in addition to allowing them to enrich uranium, like why would we have to do that? Do you think that Trump would go into a negotiation with an Iran at any point in his political career and allow them and not only unfreeze money that supposedly was taken from Iran, but also allow them to enrich uranium? That's ludicrous. I could see Biden doing that. I could see Kamala Harris doing that. In a world, I could see even George Bush doing something stupid like that. But one of the reasons that I could root for somebody like Trump or appreciate some of the things that he does do is that a lot of these politicians in my lifetime do a lot of things that make no sense, do a lot of things that basically give an impetus of or a reason as to why we have to perpetually fund the military industrial complex because of some sort of mistake, such as giving Iran, uranium to enrich, or funds that would help propagate unenriched uranium, where Trump is basically the kind of deal maker where it's basically, if I'm holding the cards, which a lot of times the US does hold the cards, we have the best military, the biggest markets, the best markets. Um, a lot of times when Trump makes deals, he deals from that position. It's basically get down with my deal or lay down, die without us if you want, or die because of us, you know. And some people, buy into the whole white man bad image of Trump, and the fact that he gets perpetually bad media where they constantly demonize him, and maybe have it in their mind that they don't like Trump, and a lot of times people feel dignified or self-righteous, because they feel they hate Trump, so they're good, and Trump bad, and I hate Trump, so I'm good, and that's my dignifying purpose in this world is the fact that I hate on one politician. And I've never seen a politician with this much bad media. I mean, like, and I really detest and hate the mainstream media. And it gives me more of a reason as to why I don't really jump on the ship with a lot of these mainstream media digesting people that are basically 90% of the populace. So damn near, I don't know, probably like, or at least half. The vocal contingent of the world or the political world largely hate Trump. You know, and I just don't necessarily buy into it. Now, I'm not like somebody who's gonna try to remix every move that Trump makes into a positive thing. Like I was at a meeting earlier today, and I had to bring my wife with me because I was feeling under the weather. And while I was taking breaks, I mean, like I kept telling my wife, in a few hours, I mean, like this whole thing in Iraq in Iran may be the biggest event of our lifetimes. I mean, like imagine if, I mean, and some people didn't like, I mean, Trump, one thing that he does do, which I could appreciate, and a lot of people may not like, is that he'll say these outlandish statements, and he's not very clear as to what he means by it. Like, I mean, like with the statements that he put out in regards to Iran over the Easter weekend, I mean, everybody's perception was that Iran was going to potentially get hit with a nuclear bomb or with several nuclear bombs by way of America. And Trump has a way of putting statements out like that, or putting ideas in the air, and sometimes, backing off from them. And like, I was listening to one of the channels I like a lot, Democracy 101, hosted by Marky Dan, who I consider a good person. And while and like the stream was basically you know end of the world and Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad. He doesn't like Trump a lot. I mean, he doesn't like Trump at all. But throughout the stream, I mean, they're going on for hours. I mean, personally, I mean, the he and the other gentlemen that were on the show um, are basically doing a large circle jerk and a venting session and talking bad about Trump. I, of course, tried to hop onto the panel, and they don't want to hear dissenting voices because liberals and liberal defenders are censorious. They like to censor and they don't like to hear different opinions because they are the cult. Liberals are a cult in 2026. But see, like a lot of these people will accuse me of being some sort of a Trump lover. I mean, because I don't have constant bad things to say about Trump. I have bad stuff to say about Trump, but when I hear people constantly talking bad about Trump, I could also remind them of just a couple of months ago when we had the worst border crisis in the history of America, and they were blind to it. Or I could remind them of a time, maybe 4 years ago, in which the mainstream media and the government at large, the Biden administration, was pushing a experimental vaccine upon the populace, um, full bore. I mean, and these people, I mean, like, will admonish you for remembering these things that essentially happened just a few months ago, and they'll accuse one of being in a cult for, trying to navigate all the complexities that are happening in the world, or not taking on a political perspective of, well, if it's Trump doing it, then I'm just gonna try to go on these ad hominem, trying to paint a picture of how it's bad, and never look at Democrats as if they have any fault. Like, I'm not here like to just bang on Democrats neither. I mean, I was a Democrat myself in the '90s. I came into watching politics um, through real Democrat reasoning, being from New York City. But 2026 is 2026. The 2020s are some shit. We're at, in from my perspective, we're in a at the verge of entering into a completely different world in my lifetime. I'm not saying that that's because of Trump. I think that humanity is just entering into a new age in a way. And I am really trying to train my own mind to trying to walk through bubblegum, load up weapons simultaneously. I can't just think, well, Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad as my only compass. I have to be multifaceted in my thinking. And I implore everybody to be the same. But going back to this Iran situation, I was listening to a stream earlier today, and while the stream was going on, before the announcement was made that the United States wouldn't be bombing Iran, that Trump was going to enter into a extended negotiation with the country of Iran. These people were trying to paint the picture of the world falling apart, and that Trump is this war criminal, and all these ad hominem attacks. And then during the stream, it was announced that Trump was putting a pause onto striking Iran, and that they would enter negotiations with them again. And immediately they said, "Oh well," like kind of like making it seem like Trump chickened out. Which I guess, I mean, like it's either nuclear war or Trump checking out, like to these people. I mean, like it's almost like they want Trump to do something bad so they can have bad stuff to talk about. But then they went on to talk about, other conservative politicians. Um, I guess because it would be a lot more juicy to talk about, Trump being, the worst person in the world. And once they saw that the negotiations would continue so long, and the terms that the administration of Trump laid out were that the Strait of Hormuz has to remain open in order for negotiations to continue. Um, then the conversation shifted to basically like how do we talk about conservatives in a negative light? We can't really talk about Trump more than we have for the past couple of hours before the ceasefire was extended. So, I mean, like, let's try to remix and how we could talk about other conservatives in a negative light. And a lot of people feel like talk in the same way. I mean, like they make it seem as if they're biased or make it seem as if they're trying to take in the whole picture. But most people, especially people that are constantly spouting off anti-Trump rhetoric, they're only looking at one politician, Trump, and seeing what he does rather than taking into account what all these politicians are doing. They weren't taking into account what anybody in the Biden administration was doing for 4 years. I mean, where those 4 years of the Biden administration were the worst thing that ever happened to America. I mean, you have basically 10%, if not more, added to the American population of straight up migrants that were unvetted during a time in which we just got out of a supposed lockdown because of a mysterious foreign disease that was introduced to America. You had, like I said, forced mandates. You had, the rainbow push, the the weaponization of government that was happening during the Biden administration. A lot of people weren't, making tallies of what was happening in politics at that point. A lot of these same people that are spouting off anti-Trump rhetoric in the second Trump administration were only talking anti-Trump rhetoric even when Trump was out of office from 2020 to 2024. And I mean, like, in a sense, I'm not gonna say I feel bad for these people because a lot of these people are very venomous in the way they speak, or very contentious and or only want contention when it comes to talking politics. I mean, they only get emotional, and by emotional, I mean only hate. But we need to be able to see the whole picture rather than being honed in on one part of the picture. But if you guys don't know, and from the little that I have read on Twitter, is that like I said, Iran has to keep the Strait open in order for negotiations with the Trump administration to continue. I'm not sure who's running Iran as of now. I really don't know what to make of these media pieces that come out of Iran here and there, um, in which some person is making threats in a military uniform who seems to be an authority figure in Iran. I don't know who these people are for the most part. I mean, you do hear, or I have heard of many of the people who were in the leadership hierarchy of Iran in this last month or so have been eliminated. I mean, like down to like where supposedly they're at their third group of leadership figures that are in charge in Iran as of now. And what the administration is doing right now, I mean, could it have been done differently? Like, I mean, like, I'm not sure. I mean, like, did I want this war to break out? I mean, not, I'm like, no, but I don't like any wars to break out. I'm anti-war. But am I lose? Did I lose any sleep, or was I saddened by the fact that the hierarchy in Iran was taken out? Absolutely not. I think that the hierarchy of Iran, in many ways, are lackeys to other countries in that region. And again, like I mean, it's always used as this Iran that is as a figure as to why we have religious people that are willing to set the world on fire. And by having the leadership of that country taken out, I mean, maybe we'll get to where the leadership that ultimately takes control in Iran is one that is willing to make deals with America. I mean, is that a bad thing? Absolutely not. I mean, Trump has gone into deal making with a ton of countries, even countries that we may have contention against. Trump will at times talk bad about these countries, lambast them, and then it'll end up where Trump has to deal with this country, and I mean, we don't have problems anymore, especially in this second term of Trump. Now, if Iran wants to play the role of religious zealots, and that they're willing to be martyred in an effort to oppose America or Trump, then I mean, like, Trump is gonna honor that request and let them reach their martyrdom. But right now, I mean, the die has been cast. I mean, the war has set off. I mean, these last couple of weeks, and Trump, I think, shouldn't stop the operations that he has going on, which is basically air operations and taking out certain targets without compromising much of the American military until he gets the result that he wants, which is to have a group of people that are in charge in Iran that are willing to make a deal with America. And Trump, like I said, Trump is good at deal making. Trump is not in a position like or wouldn't be foolish enough like Obama in arming Iran like Obama did when he was the president, and funding Iran, which I mean everybody knew Iran what were religious zealots, and were one step away from being T Rizzers. Um, so why fund these people with tons of money? Why allow them the capability of enriching uranium? Doesn't make sense to me. Now Trump is undoing that deal. I mean, Trump is rectifying the mistake that Obama did. In addition to, I mean, like, what other countries outside of Iran present a threat of setting off a holy war? There are none. Once Iran is not able to get the world into a holy war at a time where you have tons of people from these Muslim countries who have entered into a lot of these countries, such as Europe, such as the United States of America. They've entered into a lot of these Western countries recently, and I mean, do I want the ability like of these people who may cause dissension in Western countries to have a beacon like Iran as the beacon that they could look towards, like to get some sort of financing to conduct covert operations in my country or in European countries. I don't want that. I, you know, not that kind of so-called minority. I want America and I want the world to do well. Iran wants Islam to do well. And not that I have any problem against Islam, but a heretic is a heretic. A zealot is a zealot. And zealots in 2026 or zealotry is not needed or is dangerous in many cases. Um, but again, I mean, like, Trump wants this hemisphere. Like, I mean, like, America does have enough fuel beneath our feet, enough gas deposits to fuel America and other countries for a long, long time. We don't need the Middle East for our fueling needs. If we start to drill, baby, drill, we'll be making our own fuel in perpetuity for with what we have underneath our feet. Um, the European model makes no sense at all. You know, they want to be buying fuel from Russia, even though I mean the NATO agreement is basically an agreement of European countries that's supposed to be contending against Russia, financed by America, where America is basically the bulk of the fighting force of NATO, but America, I mean, is not backed up by NATO. I mean, it's basically a big cluster that's been happening throughout these past decades. And Trump just seems like the politician who may say, like, none of this makes any sense. Like, we shouldn't be taking part in NATO. Right now, we just entered into contention with Iran. Iran is stopping NATO countries from receiving fuel. And we asked these NATO countries to help us in this war against Iran, and they all turned their back from on us. And Trump is just the right guy to say, "Listen, I'll hold that against you. You know, I'll hold that against you, England. You didn't want to let us launch out of your bases. I mean, I'm pretty sure that England and France and all these countries have used Iran as a boogeyman, you know, just like they use Russia as a boogeyman, yet they still buy fuel from Russia. And that's the way we used to do business. And to me, that stuff never made any sense. But only one politician in my lifetime has spoke in the sense or spoke in a way in which, listen, like the way that the world does business when it comes to these issues doesn't make any sense. And when it comes to America's contributions into these things, like a NATO, where America probably pays the most of all these NATO countries, where America's military is the biggest weapon that NATO has, yet we still pay these enormous amounts of money into this NATO arrangement, which is basically an arrangement that's NATO against Russia. I mean, Russia is no threat to America. Russia is on the eastern side of Europe, far away from America. I mean, they pose no real threat, immediate threat to us. Iran, at the end of the day, I mean, like, besides their saber rattling, according to Trump, they hold no real clout when it comes to our gas capabilities. Like, they're stopping countries in that region from their gas capabilities, but the countries from that region will be quick to lean into the fact that they're looking to go green or that they don't want to take part in the fact that their fuel capacity is being stymied by this blockage in the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. fuel capability is not stymied from the Strait of Hormuz being blocked. These European countries' fuel capabilities are being stymied. China's fuel capabilities are being stymied. India, Pakistan, all of Europe. Let me see. Iran ain't no damn threat. No, I don't consider that. I don't think they're a threat. Peace to you, my brother. I don't think they're a threat to the United States in the immediate sense. They're a threat in the sense that they spout off anti-American rhetoric. That they're pretty much the only country in that vein, probably throughout the whole world, where they're popping off at the mouth and making it seem as if they have the capability or the drive to go after America. There's no other countries that I know of that talk in the way that the Iranian leadership has talked against America. Was that a reason for us to go into war against them? I don't think so. But am I crying that their leadership has been replaced by way of American missiles? Not really. I mean, I could see other ways to use that money, but I'm not losing any sleep. And I actually take delight in the fact that a lot of the Iranian leadership is no longer with us. We say anti communist rhetoric all the time. Yeah, but America is the big dog on the block. And communists are have a way of infiltrating through subversion. I mean, you see it in America. I mean, most of the unions are infiltrated by communists, teachers union. A lot of the music industry is infiltrated by communists. A lot of so-called minorities are infiltrated by communist rhetoric. We're just too dumb to see it most times. So-called minorities, that is. Are we a threat? I hope we're a threat. You know, America needs. I mean, America is the big dog. It has to be a threat. I mean, in spite of the fact that we're the big dog, I mean, like, especially under the Trump administration in his first iteration and his current iteration, I mean, they've been wheeling and dealing, but they're not necessarily, uh, besides Iran, I mean, like, which again, I think it benefits America in the long term. Iran is always going to be used by administrations in America, like Obama, immediately after doing a deal with Iran and releasing Iran's funds and allowing them to enrich uranium. Um, as a whoopsie moment, a couple months later, they were bitching about the fact that Iran was testing long range missiles. You're releasing funds to Iran. I mean, this is Obama. You're releasing, allowing them to enrich uranium, and then you act like you're caught by surprise when they start, enriching that uranium in an effort to make a nuclear bomb. Like Trump wouldn't allow, or Trump and the way that America should do business is doing business as if you are the big dog. You know, like you don't let shit like that slide. You keep America in a position of strength. Let me see. We infiltrate other people's countries all the time. That's why Iran and no, that's why Venezuela and Iran effed up. Um, Again, I mean, like America, when you have Venezuela, I mean, in the case of Venezuela, that was another country that was spouting off anti-America rhetoric. But also, I mean, there's other implications in terms of Venezuela, whether that be through narcotics. Some people say things to do with the election, but Venezuela was basically something that we wrapped up one evening. I mean, nobody died. The leader of Venezuela, Maduro, wasn't a good character, and right now he's in a prison in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, my neighborhood, over a little excursion that America did over one weekend. No troops died. I'm not crying over that either. Um, I think you're trying to like maybe paint a picture of, oh, America shouldn't get involved in these things, or big bad America, America bad. Like, nah, I don't think that way. I mean, like, I ultimately root for, again, the country that I live in, or the land that I live in. And I could also see that a lot of these things that these other countries are doing have a negative implication upon America. Venezuela probably had the most illegal immigrants entering into America during the Biden administration. I mean, could you say that Maduro had zero to do with that? Absolutely not. I'm pretty sure that Maduro opened his prisons up and sent populations that he didn't want in his country right up north under the idiot Biden administration into America. And you can't say that didn't happen purposely or that happened just by accident. Sorry, I'm feeling on the weather. No, my friend, go look at the history, not yesterday. At the history of America, I mean, like, if I'm not sure if that's what you mean, but um, every country has a bad history. England has a bad history, probably worse history than America under if you want to, even in my lifetime alone. But I'm talking like, I mean, and America may have a bad history, but I consider the administration that we currently have different than other administration. I consider Trump vastly different than other presidents, in spite of the fact that he receives constant negative media. In spite of the fact that I gotta contend against people that eat a lot of mainstream media up as if they can't be lied to. I could see the bigger picture of what Trump's trying to accomplish, and I could also see that is Trump perfect? No. Am I gonna try to sell you as Trump being a good man? Like, no. Do I need Trump to be a good man? Not necessarily. I mean, I need Trump to be a good boss, and Trump is the boss of this country, and I need the boss of this country to make good moves to this country. um, no, my friend, go look at the history, not yesterday. I don't know what history you're referring to. He's gonna be released on presidential acts. You talking about Maduro? I don't know. He, like but he might be released under the Trump administration if he gives Trump the information on uh how these narcotics move, or maybe he gives Trump information on an agreement that he had with the Biden administration, in which the Biden administration essentially allowed the Venezuelan population to enter into America in mass. And maybe that was an agreement that Maduro and Comatose Biden, or the people that were handling Comatose Biden, agreed upon. Who knows? Nope, I never said that. But you have to look at history. I like history too. I mean, like and I do look at history. I mean, but like sometimes, I mean, like I hear that from my good brother or people like on YouTube who may disagree with me, or who suffer from some sort of TDS. I'm not saying you suffer from TDS, and they forget, or they want me to forget history that happened, in 2024 in 2023, in 2022, in 2021. You know, they like these people that were talking about Trump while Biden was still in office, you know, or people that get tight when you bring up Biden. I mean, not only is Trump having to rectify what a ton of other bad presidents before him, Bush, Obama, Clinton, not only is he trying to rectify or what these presidents have done, but he also had the misfortune of having the worst president of my lifetime, Joe Biden, um, in office right before he took office in the second iteration. You know what I'm saying? And again, I mean, Iran is always like a lot of people. I have a theory about Iran that people may or may not agree with me. I said it on another channel, and they actually did agree with me, even though that channel happens to hate Trump. But my theory is that Iran has always been a patsy for another country in the Middle East. I mean, like, or in that region. And they always use Iran as this boogeyman, and they always use Iran as to the reason why we should be arming this other country and why we should be looking at the Muslim world as a potential state of zealots. I mean, and there are a lot of Muslim zealots, granted, but the only Muslim zealot country is the country of Iran for the most part. I mean, Afghanistan, that's a tribalistic country, and they really offer no real threat to America or any of America's allies. But Iran, I mean, seems to always want death against America. I mean, even though we're not like necessarily close to them, I mean, they're always just used as a boogeyman as to why the military industrial complex has to be arming a country that's not America. And I think that this war ultimately is going to eliminate that boogeyman, in addition to start bringing the conversation as to why do we arm this other country that's not America so much. It takes somebody like Trump that people hate for people to start having that conversation. It takes somebody like Trump who people hate to have the Epstein stuff being mentioned by people in the mainstream media. Epstein wasn't mentioned under Biden. Zero. People want to make excuses as to why, Epstein wasn't mentioned by the media or by anybody of merit under the Biden administration or under administrations in the past. But I think Trump is, in a sense, an avenue of revelation. If it doesn't have an association to Trump, people tend not to talk about it. But if, in spite of the fact that I think Trump is treated unfairly by the media, and in spite of the fact that I do want Trump to do well, um, he gets laced with a lot of the stuff with something like Epstein, let's say. Um, but the good thing about that is that people will talk about Epstein because it has to do with Trump. But I think the most important thing is that people talk about Epstein, and it goes to say the same thing. People will talk about Trump being in a war in Iran because he's arming a country. It's real in that region, but if it weren't for that, people wouldn't talk about the fact that America has funded a country in that region. I mean, like, Joe Biden funded Israel probably 4 times more than what Trump has, but under the Trump administration, we're able to have that conversation. Under the Biden administration, in spite of the fact that the Biden administration probably gave that country 4 times more funding while the whole Gaza thing was happening under Biden, more than it was under the Trump administration. People didn't talk about it under the Biden administration. Now, good or bad, I mean, like, even though they lace Trump with the accusation that Trump's a big time puppet of that country or the only funder of that country, the good thing about that is that people are now talking about that country in general, like, and having um, any sort of conversation, in spite of the fact that whether fair or unfair, the only way that they're able to talk about it is by trying to bring up Trump negatively in that. But yeah, I take the good with the bad. I'd rather people be talking about it than for them not to, or choose not to talk about it like they were doing under the Biden administration. Let me see. Uh, yeah, next time I got to do an open panel, Michael. So maybe you would come through, chop it up with the key. Yeah, but these are the times of revelation, not just biblical. Even though I think these are biblical times, uh, this is the only time, like 2026, in which I feel that in my life we're leaping into the future. I think that the future has been stymied these past couple of years. I think that the internet, ill as it was, leading, I mean, up until like 2015, before the internet started getting censored in mass, um, I think that we've been stymied as to being able to leap into the future. Whereas now, scary as it is in 2026 and I think 2027, we're fast forward leaping into the future with the advent of AI, with the advent of new weaponry that I've never heard of. And I think we've, in a sense, been stopped from taking that leap. I'm not saying that I want weaponry or futuristic weaponry as the only new facets of the future, but I think that we've been stopped from jumping into the future. Now we're springboarding into that in 2026. Scary as it is, especially for somebody like me, like who's technically, when it comes to technology and whatnot, I suck. But I do appreciate the fact that I'm alive in a crazy time like 2026. Well, I'm gonna end the stream now. I feel like shit. But I gotta start coming onto YouTube more often. But nevertheless, maybe something happens and I do find the energy to come through. If not, I hope you guys survive into the month of January. I hope you guys keep your heads about you. Don't believe the hype. Never believe the mainstream media. You're better off talking to a regular person like myself, a regular person on YouTube, than to listen to the idiot box, i.e., the TV. With that, hope you guys like, share, subscribe to my channel. As always, I am Sir Foul Player of Brooklyn. On my new channel, Behold. I'm out. Peace.